Welcome back to Deals, Dreams, and Drama. This month, we're talking about money mindset and the mess in between.
You know those moments where you're trying to build wealth, manage your peace, and keep your edges? Yeah. We're trying to do all those at the same time, and we're going to go there today. Okay. But before we get into it, let's talk about some wins. What's a win that you've had in the last month that you'd like to celebrate?
I would say for me, a win is getting on the listing train and getting those listings under contract. I was starting to doubt myself a little bit with one of these listings, but the other three have gone really well, gone under contract.
All right, I'd agree with you. I got listings that seem to have sit for they sat a long time. Let's just put it that way, and they all pretty much went under contract within a couple of weeks of each other. So it was bam, 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 and it's been a great summer. So that's a win.
So I think one of my wins is getting one of my buyers under contract who has been looking since 2024 and looked at a lot of houses, right? And so that to me was a win. Finally finding a house that is perfect for them, truly, and getting them under contract and close. And I'll just piggyback on what the first two ladies said is getting a listing that I had on market. My gosh, for 135 days, getting that under contract and getting it to a quick close.
Well, all right. I love all those wins.
Yeah.
I love all those wins. They all had to deal with deals, but that's what we deal with most of the time is trying to get these deals to closing. All right, so let's talk about money today. Okay. So but not only money mindset. Okay, so now when did you first realize that your money mindset was holding you back? And that's if it ever was. Okay, because we're not going to assume that everybody had a limited money mindset. But I will start by saying that I was not I had a beautiful upbringing, but I wasn't raised talking about money. Even with my dad selling real estate, there were lots of ebbs and flows and things like that. But I kind of came up with a bit of a scarcity mindset. Okay, so that's one of the things that kind of held me back. I had some limiting beliefs around money and people who had money. Right. So just getting beyond that and understanding that truly money is good for the good that it can do. And that I think that mantra has helped me move past that limiting belief.
Yeah. So I think for me, and I don't always talk about it, but I am retired. I am 100% disabled. So that's guaranteed income on the first, regardless of what I do. So the first year that I set my jumpers in real estate, and I don't even want to tell y'all what it was because it's kind of embarrassing. I said, listen, I'll just tell y'all. I said, okay, so I'm getting this from this bucket. So if I just sell, you know, what did I say? 3 million, or if I make 30K in real estate, that's what I said. It was 30K. If I make 30K in real estate, I'm good. And it wasn't until, this is not a plug for anything, but wasn't until I got the KW Valentine and I got around some high thinkers to include you ladies, right? And just to see how you all were doing business, I'm like, wow, my goal is 30K a year just because that money that I'm making over there shouldn't even matter. And so that's when I really started like putting my mindset and changing my mindset around money, and especially when it came to real estate. And then I started making the money that I am making now. I was like, wow, I can't even believe I set my goal so low. That's right. Yeah. I think for me, it was in the very beginning, right? For me, because I started at one market center and I moved quickly because I didn't see what you just said. I didn't see any like high producing agents. They were there. They just weren't there to share their story. Yeah. And in the beginning, starting out in the market, because I was in Houston, I'd only been there for a couple of months. And I knew 10 people, they all went to ANC with me, right? Or they were family members. So they weren't necessarily looking to buy or sell. And so I'm thinking that you have to have all this money to really get started in real estate. And you really don't. And it's a lesson that I've had to reteach myself. We talked about this, right? Like you can go out, you can door knock, you can do the open houses, you can do a lot of lead generation and things that's going to bring you money with a little bit of money. And even once you start producing, sometimes we have to remind ourselves of that too, right? Because now we're just spending things on things that we are not using. Or, go back to the basic of, okay, should we just be doing the cold calling ourselves versus hiring an ISA? So I think my money mindset from a real estate standpoint changed earlier on. I'm saying the first year. because you had to learn quickly that you don't have to have money to make money.
That's right. And mine is a little bit different. And this is going to sound interesting to you all, just from what you know of me. My first year in real estate, I missed capping by about $1,250. And it was because I wasn't tracking my numbers. I wasn't, again, I was late 20s, single, like living my best life. And the money didn't really matter as much as I didn't need money. But when I missed capping by that $1,250 or around $1,000 or something like that, for me, it was the competitive part of me that kicked in. And I was like, I have to know what I'm making on everything. I have to understand the numbers better. And that's when I started my spreadsheets.
What's capping?
So capping is with Keller Williams. I'll explain this best I can. With Keller Williams, it is where you pay into your market center a certain amount of money, and after you pay in that amount, you get to keep 100% of your commission. So I missed keeping 100% of my commission by $1,250. And I had closings lined up after that, and probably some I could have pushed up to actually have gotten, a 100% commission check.
Right.
So that really caused me to just want to dig into the numbers more, want to understand them more, want to understand that, what is my hourly rate? Because in real estate, you don't necessarily, this is what I charge per hour. But at the same time, if you're doing 40 hours worth of work on one deal and you're making $4,000, you kind of get to see what that actually.
Right.
So what's part of that was not surprise us?
That I didn't always track my numbers.
Okay, maybe.
Okay.
I actually once you did not make the number, it wasn't gonna happen.
The spreadsheet.
No, she knew the exact amount.
I $12.50. I just wanted to know because she started out saying this y'all might not know this. What part? Because we just
Exactly. But you were talking about knowing your numbers and all of that stuff, and I think that there's a misconception in real estate that it is all glitz and glamour, I think you mentioned, and that we just, eating steak, lobster, and champagne brunches every day. And the reality is that if we don't have an appointment, if we don't have a sign in somebody's yard, if we are not under buyer agency with someone, we are indeed unemployed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So the time that we're trying to generate leads and all that, we're working for free until somebody hires us to work for them. So to that end, how do you handle seasons where the income isn't matching the effort?
Yeah, because I think James Shaw says it best with that. You're either going to get a check or you're going to have bills, right? And so now you got to go out and make the seasons match.
Make them match.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And plan for the rainy days.
That's
right. They're going to come.
Right.
The deals that I always say, don't count the money until it's in your bank account.
Do not.
Because
don't count it then. Thank you, IRS.
Oh my gosh. Because you can have, I've had months where 3 deals have fallen out of contract. And it's like, look, I was planning for that money.
Yeah.
So you do have to prepare for a rainy day.
Because you can't wake up and have 6 deals under contract. And before you go to bed, only have 2.
One.
Yeah, you don't understand what happened.
That was on a Thursday?
That was on a Friday. Mm-hmm. And she woke up Saturday saying, I'm about to be leaving.
Oh, what you doing this week, Keisha? Lead generating.
Mandy's house.
Yes. And also understand, I think what was important to me also was understanding my survival number. I heard someone talk about that. So what is it that I'm going to need to survive, even if I don't have a deal, like if a deal falls out of contract? Right. What number does it take to survive my business? So once I figured that part out, I feel pretty confident. As long as I hit that survival number, I'm fine.
Yeah.
So I think that's something that we all should know. And I'm sure you all know, but as realtors, we all should really know our survival number.
Yeah.
I think that's in real life, though, right? I think it's something that we may want to bring up. Like, I don't think overall we talk about money enough, right? Women don't talk about money enough. African American people don't talk about money enough, right? And so I think that's an everyday lesson because when you read the reports and they're saying everybody's living paycheck to paycheck, what is it? If something happens today and you can't go to work, what do you need to get through the next couple of months? So I think that's a lesson overall outside of real estate, right? Yeah.
That was great. That was wonderful. I thought that you were going to say a little more. A little more about the women talking about. I was like, yeah,
The women talking about money.
Right. So again, that brings us to women talking about money, right?
and we don't talk about it.
We don't talk about it enough. Now, I do feel like we don't talk about it, but you can tell when women have money, right? Or you can assume. You can assume. But you know, my baby sister joked me one time. She sent me this, and this was in, I think my baby sister is only like 24, right? Okay. But she sent this when she was like 17, 18. And she's like, this is you and your friend. Right, and it's basically women. You know, women when they go to brunch, they get bottles, they do this, they drink mimosas all day. They got the bags, they got the heels. You know, but again, like you said, that's just assuming, right? But do we really talk about, money and managing that, and just being transparent with it?
Right. Yeah, I think that's what it is, and I think sometimes and passing on the knowledge, right?
Yes,
because as people come into real estate, having that conversation with them. The day that you plant the seed is not the day that you enjoy the fruit, right? And we have to understand that in real estate, which means we have to be constantly planting. Constantly planting. Or as one of my script practice partners in Cleveland, constantly chopping wood. That's what shooting in the gym, however you want to say it.
Yes.
We have to constantly be doing it, because if you're not, the season that you didn't plant anything, that's going to show up in 90 days, 120 days.
And it's going to be barren.
And it's going to be rough. And I think too, sometimes our clients don't realize that that's our reality. So when we are, again, being transparent about everything, I don't have time to waste with a client. I don't have time to be showing you houses that are above your budget. Just because you think you're going to talk them down. That's not a good use of my time. It's just not, because that's all we have. We exchange our time for money. And in real estate, sometimes we don't really even see that exchange, because again, there's so much planting going on before you actually are sitting at a closing table.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. And I think with money also, like it's the conversation of the money you make, but then it's also the conversation of what do you do with the money. The IRS is real, you know, and
very real.
Very real. And so having those conversations of, okay, what are you doing to protect your money? Where are you putting your money so that, the IRS has ways for you not to pay them every single dime. Are you investing? Are you, what are you doing to save your money as much as possible? But then also the other side of it, I have had an estate plan probably since I was pregnant. So 2021, when I say everything is laid out if something happens to me,
yes, I'm with you on that one. I have a plan.
No, for sure. No. I just joked, Brandy, because we talked about that before, right? Like right now, just where I am, 48 years old, a lot of my friends are going into this caretaker mode. And so many people are unprepared. Right? And then we have somebody who is like 10 years younger, and she's got all her ducks in a row. And it ain't just like overnight. She did this a few years ago, right? So that's what that was the joke. Like that's something that we don't talk about. Again, talking about money, not just with each other, but with your family. What are we doing with this property? Where's the money at? Is it under the mattress? How are we gonna handle these things?
And what's our board of directors? What does your board of directors look like? Y'all remember when what was that? Emmerich came and talked about that. That's something that I really took to heart from that. I listened to the whole thing, but deciding that I deserve a board of directors, because not only am I the CEO of my real estate business, I'm also the CEO of my household. So I need a board of directors to help advise me with money decisions for my business. Thank y'all for being on the board. And also, a board of directors as I'm trying to manage everything in my household as well. Right?
You know what you don't know.
You don't know what you don't know. So there has to be financial people. There has to be, maybe not a CPA, but you got to have somebody financial in your life. You got to have a financial advisor in your life. You need to have an attorney in your life. Right? An insurance person. You got to have all these people that can kind of show you the right way, because before I got into real estate, you can make a lot of money in real estate. And I had never made the kind of money at my other job that I was paid very well there. However, real estate, you just have unlimited potential in your earnings. So I did not know what to do with the money. And a lot of it did just get wasted. And I'm on now.
It's like,
Yes. Yes, I would.
After trip,
Trip. I would have guacamole on that. I was all that. But
you don't have to
you can just don't even tell me how much it is. Just go and put the guac. But now I'm learning, and 10 years in, and I mean I'm not just now starting to learn, but I am learning that there's a time and place for everything.
Yes,
Yeah.
for everything. Right. And so like even when I go back to the joke my sister talked about, right? Like I have definitely stopped all of that. A lot, not all of it, but a lot of it because
Balling out.
really balling out when you like, yo, hold on.
when you really
Hold
look at the
on,
numbers.
hold on, y'all exploiting my money. And I'm letting you, right? I mean that I've really been on that kick this year, right? Like I don't want to go to a place and spend $150 because I've had an appetizer, a side, 2 drinks, now I gotta pay 20% gratuity automatically.
Yeah.
And I gotta pay for parking, right? And then I have nothing to show for it. So again, like I said, it's money management, and with real estate, we don't know sometimes in the very beginning that when those checks come, you got to put some of that money to the side.
Yeah.
Like I said, we got to pay the I, the R, and the S.
Every last one.
And you got to pay for, marketing dollars. We got to pay our broker. Like, there's a lot of people that dig into that check.
Mhm.
I recently had a client who was also a friend, and they made a joke. And he was like, oh, now we're going to close the deal. I ain't heard from you. I said, that little bit of money. And then I said, baby, I'm still working because I got bills to pay. Like,
I'm on vacation.
I'm on vacation. I mean,
Not with that. I'm going on vacation.
Right, but not with that. That don't even cover the monthly that Sheree was talking about, right? Because everybody think, oh, she got this check. Then
They start tapping into your money. They don't have 3%.
Yes.
You got to understand all the places.
You got to play where it should go. And where it should go.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Well, let's get on into the mess, y'all.
Yes.
We'll get right on into the mess. We have had a productive conversation about money, but no, not even mess though. Let's talk about when it's time to rest and not quit. And I know we kind of touched on that in the past, but especially as women, right? We do a lot of what do they call it? Invisible labor, like thinking everything through for everybody. But when do we, as real estate agents, business owners, when do we rest versus quitting?
And I'll start with that because I feel like at first, when I first started, it was just reaching that number, and I mentioned that earlier. And I am a vacation girl. I'm a vacation girl. Where you going next, Fred? A couple of places. Go ahead.
Where have you been?
A couple of places. But I will say that is I find that, and it sounds crazy, but I find that to be my rest because when I first started, I felt like I was working 7 days a week. Like it was never, I wasn't finding that boundary where I was cutting the clients off. And like you said, just being a wife, mom, and all of the things, being a CEO, joint CEO of my household, like finding that downtime, and saying it out loud to not only my tribe, but also my spouse, saying, look, I need some time off because I really feel like we can go, and we want to help. And sometimes there aren't boundaries with answering the telephones. And, after 6 o'clock, we're still on the phones. We're still showing homes at 9 p.m. We're just doing the things, not giving ourselves the opportunity to rest. So,
on vacation sometimes.
Even on vacation.
Still under contract. On vacation.
Listen, because that's why I'm going on another vacation. Because my last vacation, I was working. Right. And here go my husband sitting right next to me, like, la-di-da-di-da. But I mean, be very patient with me. Yeah. So I think my time to rest is really going on vacation. And honestly, the last quarter, I find that I get the most relaxation because there are so many holidays in the last quarter of the year. So we all can be recharged for the next year.
Yeah, I think the first setup is boundaries.
right?
Sure.
The same way we have boundaries with family and friends, we have to set those boundaries with our clients, right? Sharika's the queen of this. We ain't for each other, right? From a business standpoint, right?
Not the right people.
We're not the right people. And it's because you saw the red flags early. Because if you don't, you are going to snowball into, like, I had somebody who literally, I told her, I don't typically work on Sunday. That's our family and faith day. Yada, yada, yada. We had this conversation. She called me not only on a Sunday, but she called me at like 10 p.m. because she had went to an open house and she was upset that I did not call her back that night. And then she proceeds to fire me. She didn't fire me like she called me and told me. The lender came back and said, yeah, she put in an offer with another agent. Because I did not answer her phone call at 10 p.m. at night. Now, I was totally fine with that. At first, it's kind of like a gut punch. But then, in real estate, that's going to be a problem deal. Everything, we had done it a whole lot. I had put a lot of time into this client. And just from what I hear from the lender, it was not a smooth transaction, right? There was a lot of drama in it. And so you learn to know, like, again, I have to have my boundaries, and your boundaries are there for a reason. And so, for me, being an empty nester and all, I have to remind myself not to go back to the old ways, though, right? And answering calls. If I tell you we set those expectations on our listing calls and our buyer consultations, right? I don't take calls after this time. If there's an emergency, which we know there's never any emergency in real estate, or if we're really on the deadline, sometimes we're on the deadline, then when time allows, I'll call you back. That's what our voicemail says. That's what we say. We don't work after a certain time. And then on Sundays, it's our day of rest. And then I've learned when I go on vacation to send out a message a couple of days before and also talk to people. And most people, 98% of the time, they respect those boundaries. Yes, for sure. They do. And if I was to call them on vacation, they'd be like, why are you calling me? Right? But most of the time, people respect those boundaries.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where we put our, make sure we're getting our rest. We set those boundaries, we set those times. And when we're with our family or on vacation, we try to respect that. Yeah. I would say anytime that I thought about quitting, I remember why I got into it. And that's where the rest versus quit. It's like, no. There's not a plan B. Right? This has to work because I'm not going back to work for somebody else. Like I got into real estate. I quit my job and hadn't even started real estate school. I was just like, what I can't do is this. So with that in mind, sometimes just reminding myself of like, a steady paycheck sounds good. However, I have to go in, punch a clock, follow somebody else's instructions, do it their way. So let me just take a quick breather. And my breathers, there's a lot of them. I do have 2 phones for a reason, because if I'm on vacation, I can leave that phone in the room. And then I don't have to worry about it ringing. I don't have to worry about a text because I can't even see it. So that's part of my rest. I do Sundays as well. Usually what I'll do is I'll pick a day. Some days, especially with my son right now, it's just like Saturdays is kind of the day I really can't do much because we got sports. And he's like, Mommy, what are we doing today? Why can't we just sit at home? Why we got to do something today? But do find something to do. The opposite of you.
Because somebody has set a precedent of doing so all the time. It's like, what are we doing?
Have a social calendar. So I'll choose a day out of the week. Like, okay, we'll do stuff on Saturday. So then Sunday, I might have to work on Sunday. But it's finding that balance. I agree. Just setting the expectation with people is really, really important. But also, you know your body. Like you know when it's time to just sit. And sometimes rest is not what we think it is. Sometimes it's just a day where, hey, I'm gonna start at 2:00 today instead of getting up at 8 and just ripping. Or I'm just sitting here binge watching Netflix, right? Now that's me on a daily. As long as we don't find the show.
And my rest is very little. Because what I will do is go lay down. I'm going to go lay down. Because when it gets to be too much, and sometimes it truly does, and it's a question about, are you pushing yourself all the way to burnout? Because if all you can do is go lay down, then you're probably a burnout.
Yes.
Right? So I've been here. But I'm going to go lay down. Because I do feel like when I get up, though, I do have a fresh perspective. It's kind of like when we give our clients a minute to cool off. It's like, I just need a minute to decompress and not think about this for a second or 30. to 38 minutes. I need me a few minutes because if I can clear my head and if I can come back and look at it with fresh eyes, then it's gonna be good. Because I mean, again, it can be some messy stuff.
Yeah.
Yes.
So to that end, what's one messy moment that turned into a lesson for you?
Oh wow.
Think of a messy moment. Messy moment.
So my current, and I've shared this with you ladies. So I got into an investment property. And just wanting to, I got into a flip where I wanted to get outside of opening doors, right? Which I realized that opening doors is really what I need to do.
This moment,
Yes.
lessons have been learned.
Yes, the lesson had been learned because what I realized is that we all do business differently, right? And so my moment was, and just being fully transparent, is like not knowing something that I should be questioning, but I wasn't questioning because I was willing to be a student, right? So I wanted to be the perfect client, but I kind of knew, and I should have questioned a little bit more. So I'm still in the middle of the situation, and it is definitely a lesson, a very messy and an
Expensive lesson.
That's once because you're gonna remember expensive.
So
you will remember
you know
expensive.
what? But I have held my head up high the whole time.
Yeah.
I am handling it with grace. I'm not, mad about the situation, but it has been, in my opinion, a bit messy and yet a very expensive one.
Yeah. A lot more than you expected.
Way more, I want to go lay down, but I'm not. Because if I go lay down, that's not going to solve the problem.
Right.
And so just working through it day by day. And that's why I always tell y'all 1 day at a time, one step at a time. Because I think if I think too far ahead, it's going to just be completely overwhelming.
Absolutely.
Right. And then I'm no good for nobody. So.
So I went through a similar situation with my investment property. I'm no longer going through it because I did sell the property. And yet it was a bad investment. It cost money. It did not make me money. But I did learn. And I did lay down a lot of times. There were several days. The contractor calls and it's like, the house caught on fire. I'm gonna go lay down.
Yes.
I'm just going to lay down.
Now that is an emergency.
The house is on fire. And that was crazy. But he also set it on fire. So anyway, it was
very messy.
terrible, messy situation. But the lesson is that we can never doubt our expertise in this business.
Yeah.
So when someone comes to you and says, you should be doing more than opening doors,
Yes.
you sell doors, you all own some, and you should do this and do that. There are so many different ways to get into real estate investing, and it does not necessarily have to be a flip. This is not a market that is comfortable with flips. So, or it's not a market that flips are doing very well. Let's put it that way.
Right.
Let's put it that way. So it was the wrong time. And learning that lesson was valuable to me.
And let me just throw on there that we do have doors. Because this is, when I say that, we do have doors. Like you own a property, you own several properties. I know I own several properties and still do. So like you said, just understanding our expertise and not you putting it to use.
Not letting anyone talk you out of your expertise.
Yeah, making you see the numbers the way they should be or how they want them to be instead of what they actually are.
Exactly.
Correct. Yeah.
Numbers tell a lot.
Numbers tell a story. They will always tell a story, and we gotta follow that story. So.
Every time. Well, we just had a 2-minute chat.
We did, so this was a good one. I think I love talking about money and talking about our mindset around money. So I think that this was a really good conversation.
Yeah. Money and when you spend money in real estate.
So maybe we'll talk about that next month. Maybe we'll go back to relationships or whatever. But again, you guys let us know what you want to hear. Make sure that you are following us on social media and let us know what your favorite takeaway is and all that good stuff. And remember, the dream is possible, even if there's drama.
There's always drama. Fire.
Oh, that could have been a good ending though.